all right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Usapang Musiko Season 2. Yeah, a bit late on schedule. Had some things going on. Yeah. And how are you guys doing? Hope you're still safe and cozy in your homes or wherever you are right now. All right. So, for today's episode, I want to talk about when you should stop taking lessons already. Okay, this isn't for those who wants to be professional musicians. This will be for those who have a goal of just playing a specific piece for their fulfillment. No, of course the best answer if you want to stop when you need to stop taking lessons is never because as we said mentorship is something you work with lifetime. No? Music doesn't stop. Learning doesn't stop. As my dad would always say, when growth stops, decay begins, sabi niya. Okay? Oh, take that into consideration. All right? So, of course, you always need to grow as a musician. The learning never really stops. You just continue and continue and continue to grow. But, of course, if we're talking about being practical, with how much lessons are, and if you're just after a certain goal, a certain piece that you just want to play, we will talk about that. Okay? So basically for me, my goal as a teacher, as a mentor, is that my students can learn whatever they need to learn and then work on their own to learn the things they want to learn. Okay. So needs and wants are different. So my goal for my students is that they get everything that they need, all the tools that they need, so that they can learn whatever they want, even though we are not having lessons anymore. So, yeah, I've seen kasi some students who took up lessons and then they thought that 5 sessions is enough, 10 sessions is enough. And then they hit a wall and then the struggle is real. They can't progress through that wall. Why? Because they lack the skills that they need. So for me, if you're gonna enroll, you need to stop when you get the skills that you already need. So we'll talk about those skills. But first, yeah, it will always depend on your goal as a musician, no? Not everyone wants to play Paganini, or not everyone wants to play the hardest pieces in the world. They just want to play songs that uplifts them or gives them a sense of fulfillment that okay, I can play my favorite song on the violin. No, it's that simple. So I'll be talking about strings and violin in general for this video. I mean this podcast, yeah, because of course techniques and other instruments require their own. So we'll talk about when you can stop and just still grow. That's the thing. Stop and still grow in your musical journey. And, you know, because if you learn the basics, you can only play the basics, right? I mean, there are still a lot of nuances that you need to understand before you can learn something more complex, because the basics that you learn, for example, you finish a course of like 10-20 sessions, will that guarantee that after 20 or 10 sessions you will be able to play anything you want? Of course not. That's just basic. Sometimes it takes 1 year for a student to even finish the first book of Suzuki, for example. And it's not that they are slow. It's just that the pacing of each one is different. And how you learn will vary depending on your experiences in life, the things that you are already doing, especially for older beginners. No? For children, it's quite faster because we are molding them. But for older students, adult students, you're not molding the students, you're renovating them because you already do things other than playing the instrument, but there are certain motions and movements concerned with the instrument that you may be doing wrong because you're not used to it. So that's the thing. No? And yeah, pacing will totally depend on you. But if stopping, when should you stop? I guess you could stop when you reach at least techniques that are using third or fourth position. I mean for violins, huh? Because in the first position, if you only know first position, especially in the left hand, you're going to be limited to how many notes only. But if you can shift at least to third position, you can still do extensions, those things. And I think if you're already well versed in the first and third positions, you can play a lot more than you think you can. Yeah. And then of course, if you're already playing on those higher positions, you must already know. I think maybe you can already play a little bit of vibratos. So that's covered as well. So basically, the skills, not just the basic skills of bowing, framing and everything else, you have your other more advanced skills, but not truly super virtuosic advanced, no, but adequate enough to perform on your own. No, that's the thing. So I think third position on the left hand, and of course your bowing, your pacing on your bowing is also important because tone production comes from your bow hand, not from your left hand. Most of the time, your left hand is only concerned with where to put it and how to vibrate it, but everything else is in your bow. So I, for one, focus a lot more on tone production for my students because uh, a good intonation will also develop if your tone is good, because if your intonation is bad, it will amplify that bad tone, so it's easier for you to decipher. And not just being well versed in a position like third position, first position in violin, but also scales. If you know your scales, I think you could do a lot more than you think you could. But you have to master it. No, it's not just knowing it. You have to also understand that there's a mastery involved. Because if you just know how to play a certain scale, no, let's say a third position that's like 2, 3 octaves of a scale, no, and then you didn't master it, you're still gonna have a hard time learning other things. So you really have to get to a certain level before you stop. It's not just, okay, I finished this course in 20 sessions. But you finished the course, but you didn't finish everything else. No? Something like that. So there's a lot of things going on that you have to understand and consider as well. No, it's not just about finishing a book. No. Or let's say you finished the book, you mastered the book. But what about the next pieces in the next book? How will you ride through that? You will certainly hit a wall. Okay. And that's the reality. If you want to progress in the progressive uh studies in violin, you really have to have a mentor if you really want to progress. But if your goal is like, okay, I want to play canon indie until that level, I think you can do that until third position. Basically, the notes are high enough to be a little bit, you know, uh, not basic. No, let's not to be a little bit more refined, something like that, or more advanced, to say the least. The notes are high enough, and then the quality. No? So, for me, naman, you don't really need to base on pieces that you play in order for you to say that okay, you've reached a certain level. No, but you have to base on the skills that you have already accumulated. It's the same thing with painting. No, you can paint with a color you haven't seen before, or you can use a brush that you don't have. It's the same thing. We're painting with space as musicians. So if you don't know a certain technique, you can't use it. And of course, learning techniques are hard if you don't have proper guidance. Okay. But, practically, when we talk about practicality, lessons might get expensive. But I think if you need help, there's a lot of people who can help you. Just be understanding of who you take your advice from, because not all advice are good advice, especially free advice. So you have to understand where your advice is coming from. Is it coming from someone reputable, someone you can really trust with a certain topic? No. So those kinds of things. Because, I mean, during a pandemic like this, you have bills to pay, no? You have other things to worry about than pay for lessons. But of course, it will, if you really want to be good at it, it will help a ton, tremendous amount, to speed up your progress. No? So those are the things you need to consider, of course. But if you've already reached what you want to reach, it doesn't mean that you stop growing. It's just that, oh, you can stop taking lessons for a while. Maybe see how well you are, well equipped you are, because of course your teacher is only there once a week, right, for your lessons, but most of the time you technically do all the work, especially right now, online lessons. So the guidance of your teacher, like I always say, is only 10% of what you are giving. No, 90% comes from you, the student. But that the quality of that 10% guidance is really, really important. So if you don't have any more funds to get that guidance, maybe you can still ask your teacher some suggestions or questions, no? Yeah. You will really need a lot of lessons. It's not just about, okay, I finished 6 months of training. You ask me how many lessons I've had. Like, I can't even count. And I've been playing for how many? Almost 20 years. And I'm only 26. So I know that I still have a long way to go. I still have a lot of lessons to learn. So, but if you really want to put this into a career, you don't stop. That's the thing. You don't stop getting lessons. May it be formal or informal. What do I mean by informal? So, like, asking feedback from people you trust that not necessarily is your teacher. Like, for example, a colleague of yours, to listen to how you're playing, no, help you out, give you a little bit of constructive criticism, give you feedback on things you can improve on. Because sometimes we get too overconfident with our skills. Sometimes we think that we already know what we need to understand. And then someone might see you from a different perspective, and they might see, okay, you can improve on this, you can improve on that. And take it and try to assess yourself. No? Because how do you improve? You don't improve a lot from within. No? You have to look outside. It's the same thing as your sound. No, the sound that you're actually hearing when you're playing is not the sound that the people are hearing, because they're far away from you. So you have to train yourself to hear yourself from far away. The same thing. Diba? It's better to hear yourself from another point of view, from another perspective, to help you out. No? And if you don't have colleagues, maybe there's a lot of support groups out here on the internet for you to really see, okay, am I doing it correctly? Someone's helping you out, whoever might be helping you out. No? But of course, yun nga, take everything you get with a grain of salt, because not a lot of people know what they're talking about. Not a lot of people understand what's good or what's bad. They might give you advice. One of the favorite things that I always see and I always find funny is that people always suggest, if your tone is not good, to put more vibrato. No. So that's one advice I wouldn't give anyone, to put more vibrato if your tone is bad. So just take that advice. Do whatever you need to do with that. Don't don't put vibrato if your tone is bad. Focus on your tone. So yeah. And then of course, if you don't have any more teachers, what do you focus on? No, if you're not having lessons, you got your skills ready. Of course, you always have to maintain those skills. No? It's not always about progressing because you have to also master those skills, maintain those skills, make sure they're not going away anytime soon from you because you know even a week off of you playing, if you're not really that well versed in your instrument, can be detrimental to your uh playing. No, you can hear the difference if you don't play in a week, if you don't play within a month, within a year, of course. So you have to maintain it. If you're not taking lessons, make sure you're still playing, you're still working on pieces that you already know, making it better, making learning new pieces of the same level, just to maintain that skill. And then when you get a little bit bored with the things that you're doing, that's the time you try other things. Maybe something a bit higher than your level right now. No? Then try it out. And then maybe get someone's opinion about your playing, you know. So again, if you want to make this a career, never stop. But if this is a hobby and you have specific goals, specific pieces to play, make sure you equip yourself with those skills that you need before doing anything, before stopping lessons. No. Because if you stop just because you feel that you might already possess the skills that you need, then you might hit a roadblock earlier than expected. Okay? So that's my advice for everyone. Of course, if we live in a vacuum, if we live in a society where we can afford everything that we want, the best advice is to never stop learning. Learn from as many people as you can. Learn from everyone that you meet. No? But yeah, basically, you can still learn without a proper mentor, but just have to, sift out the good from the bad. You have to weed it out because your mentor is someone you trust, right? And if you lose that, if you don't want to have lessons with them anymore, you have to take those advice that come from other people you don't really trust, maybe, or not sure about their background. You have to weed it out. So yeah, that's how important mentorship is. It's how important getting good, capable, and reputable teachers are. And yeah, but I understand how the situations are for some people. No, of course, we are all trying to live through this. Whatever we're going through right now, it's one of the hardest things you've ever experienced in your life. I know. I'm going through it with you guys, so don't worry about me. All right. So I guess I will end this episode here. By the way, my album is coming up March 28th. Please check it out. And I hope you really like the things that are in there. I'm really, really happy with the outcome of the songs, the tracks that are there. I think it would be good for everyone, no, not just for my generation, maybe for older generations as well. It's nothing big, nothing groundbreaking. It's just me laying my emotions. And I think you can all relate to it without the lyrics. It's not songs. It's more instrumental than anything. It's more experimental. So I hope you really check it out. I'll put the link. Check out my Spotify. Pre-save it on your playlist, please. So and then stream it on Sunday. It's gonna come out on all major music platforms. And of course, links down the description box. Like my Facebook page. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok. Um, of course, my course on Udemy is still available. And of course, Usapang Musiko on Anchor Podcasts and all major podcast platforms. And you can reach me out on Fiverr, sorry. If you want something recorded, something arranged, reach me out on Fiverr. And of course, on Sheet Music Plus, you can also check out some of my arrangements over there. And this is Ryan Monakil for Usapang Musiko. Sessions live. Yeah, check me out there. So yeah, this is Usapang Musiko season 2, and I'll see you on the next one.